นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะสาธุ Hello everyone. Hello Kita Brown. Hello Manal. Hello Mike. Today we have the Dhamma session with me, Bhikkhuni Khemavamsi from Thailand, from Mahavanatuthangka in Lampang province, Thailand. Hello, young couple. Today's topic is the characteristic of not self, which is from the Anattalakkana Sutra, linked discourse SN 22.59 to 2.59. This is the renowned discourse about the anatta or the not self. Hello, J.D. Smith from Jordan, from Australia. Hello. So this is today we're gonna talk about the anatta or the not self. The characteristic, the three main characteristic of like everything is the anicca, tukkha, and anatta, right? Anicca, things gonna change. Tukkha, it cannot stay the same. You know, things that gonna change, it cannot stay the same, right? Or there's a lot of translation like temporarily transient, for example. And anatta is not self. Atta means self, anatta not self. And this is, like talking about the three main characteristic or the tilakkana. In Pali, we use the word tilakkana. The three main characteristic, anicca, tukkha, anatta. Actually, you can contemplate, like for you, if you like the anicca, things gonna change. If it's like fine with you, like if you can see that things changing, in your daily life, and like you find it easier to contemplate anicca, okay, you can do that. But for some people, they don't like anicca. They say like, I love to watch the tukkha, things cannot be the same. Tukkha, like suffering in English translation, but actually tukkha here mean like it cannot tolerate, it cannot stay the same. So it's actually linked with the anicca. When things gonna change because it cannot stay the same. That is tukkha in Pali. Some people love to see that, I want to contemplate that, I want to reflect on that, and it's suitable for me, it's easy for me to see that, okay, you can use the tukkha, to meditate or to contemplate in your daily life. But for some people, not all people can see the not self. Some masters, some teachers say like it's kind of harder, to see the not self, because we tend to get familiar to use the word I, you, me, right? So when we say like I is not self, I am not self, the word I, the concept of I is not self, concept of me, mind is not self. It's kind of harder to understand, to see in your daily life compared with the anicca and tukkha. So today we're gonna discuss and we're gonna learn from the Alattanakkhana Sutra, or the characteristic of not self, from SN 22.59. Hello, Shayanta Fernando. Have a peaceful day. Okay, so then let's start. I have already attached the links for you so you can read it together. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Varanasi in the deer park at Istipatana. There, the Buddha addressed a group of 5 mendicants. This is actually the second discourse, taught by the Buddha. The first discourse, the first sutra, the long one, is the Dhamma Cakkappavattana Sutra, or the Dhamma Wheel. You know that the Buddha talk about the Four Noble Truths in detail. The Dhamma Wheel, Dhamma Cakkappavattana Sutra. That is the first long discourse that the Buddha taught to the 5 mendicants. In Pali, they use the word Pancavakhi, the group of Pancha, the group of 5. And then from the Dhamma Cakkappavattana Sutra, Ayya Khemavamsi, the verbal Ayya Khemavamsi, he got enlightened, not got enlightened. He actually got the wisdom, have the eye of the wisdom, and he was the first kind of noble disciple, Sotapanna. So the verbal Ayya Khemavamsi was the stream enterer, Sotapanna, from Dhamma Cakkappavattana Sutra. After that, all of the group of 5, okay, now I know that the Buddha really got enlightened. So they stay with the Buddha. And then the Buddha taught the group of the 5 again with this sutra, Anattalakkana Sutra. So it is very famous, because it's the second long discourse, and also it's about the not self. And after the group of 5 listened to this discourse, Anattalakkana Sutra, they all got enlightened to be the Arahant, attained Arahantship, got full enlightenment, got full liberation. Okay, so this is interesting to learn today, right? At that time, as I mentioned, the Buddha was staying near Varanasi in the deer park Isipatana. The Buddha addressed the group of 5 mendicants, and the group of 5 replied, "Venerable Sir, the Buddha said this, mendicant, form is not self. If the form were self, it wouldn't lead to affliction, and you could compel form. May my form be like this, may it not be like that. But because form is not self, it leads to affliction, and you cannot compel form. May my form be like this, may it not be like that." Right? So, right from the start, the Buddha addressed about the form. So here the Buddha gonna talk about the 5 aggregates, the 5 khandha: form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and mind. In Pali, rupa, vedana, sankhara, sanya, sankhara, and then vinyana. The first one, form is not self, rupa anatta. If the form were self, it wouldn't lead to affliction, apatha, affliction or illness. It's not gonna change. It's not gonna, be something like unsatisfactory, right? Affliction, illness, disease, something is not pleasant at all. So if your body form is just like the object, but you can see like this body, eye, ear, nose, tongue, this human form here is the form as well, rupa. If the form were self, it wouldn't lead to affliction. It wouldn't lead to something unsatisfactory. It would. It wouldn't lead to something like illness and disease, right? And you could force, you could compel your body, like, may my body be like this, may it not be like that, may my hair do not turn gray, may my body remain healthy, may my leg become, like, may my back do not hurt, do not ache. But because form is not self, it leads to affliction. And you cannot force it that may it be like this, may it not be like that. That is why the Buddha said form is not self, because you cannot compel it. You cannot wish it to be as what you want it to be, right? And then feeling, Vedana. Feeling is not self, Vedana anatta. If the feeling were self, it wouldn't lead to affliction. The feeling here, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neither pleasant nor unpleasant. If the feeling were self, it wouldn't lead to affliction, meaning like it wouldn't change, right? And you could compel the feeling. May my feeling be like this, may it not be like that. But because feeling is not self, it leads to affliction. It's gonna change, it's not gonna stay the same. And you cannot control or compel feeling. May my feeling be like this, may it not be like that. What's it like? For example, may my happy feeling, may my pleasant feeling stay the same. I need to feel happiness. I need the torture, the torment, the sad feeling gone. You cannot control the feeling, right? So if you can control the feeling, that means it is yourself, something that you can control. But the Buddha said the feeling is not self because it's gonna change. It leads to affliction. It's gonna, be something different. You cannot control the feeling. That means it is not self, right? Next, perception, sanya in Pali. Sanya in Pali, English translation, they use perception, or in Thai, they use the word like memory. Perception, memory. Memory or perception is not self. If the perception were self, it wouldn't lead to affliction. Like it's not going to change, not going to be something unsatisfactory. And you could compel perception. May my perception be like this, may it not be like that. But because perception is not self, it leads to affliction. You cannot compel perception. May my perception be like this, may it not be like that. It's just like the sanya, memory, perception. You cannot control it, right? If you can control the memory, the perception, like remember, do not forget. I need to have like the good perception. You need to have like the keep it just the same. You cannot control perception. You cannot control it to turn it to something that not what you wish for. Like, oh, gonna stay the same, gonna stay like good, it's gonna be like clear, something like that. May I remember this until I die. No, you cannot control it. May I forget it. I need to forget the bad memory, the bad perception, something like that. You cannot control. So the concept of self, if you call something your own, that means you can control. You have the power over it. But because the perception, the memory, or the rupa, the form, vedana, feeling, and sanya, perception or memory, is not yours because you cannot control. You do not have power over it. It's gonna change due to many factors. Because it's gonna change, because you cannot have the power over it, then it is not your. It is not self. Next, mental formations or sankhara. Mental formations or thoughts, right, are not self. If it were self, it wouldn't lead to affliction. And you could compel mental formation. May it be like this, may it not be like that. But because it is not self, it leads to affliction. And you cannot compel mental formations. May it be like this, may it not be like that. Right? Just like the same concept of self. If it's your own, then you can control. You have to think like this. Mental formation, you have to think like this. Why don't that person think just the same as you? For example, if I say the word fish, of course, the image that pop up, right? Fish, the image that pop up is gonna be different. Some people like the goldfish, some people like a big fish, small fish, a group of fish, or something like that. So mental formation is something that, from many factors, from something that you have seen in the past, is from something that you have learned, something that you have, previously see the picture or something like that. And it pop up. So mental formation is something that, arise because of many factors. You cannot control, like, why do you have to think like the big fish? They said the small fish, but you think the big fish, like, there are many things, that like, like be the factor, like contribute to the mental formation. The mental formation from this person and that person, not the same. So if you say like, why don't you have, like, why don't you agree with me? We like, we the same pack, with the same team. Why don't you, like, have the same thought like me? Why don't we agree? Why don't we have like the same view or something like that? You cannot control that person's thinking. You cannot control your thought, the mental formations that happen in here. Because it's gonna change, and it's from many factors, right? Mental formation is gonna change from the contact, or to speak like, to put it simply, like, it's from the message, it's from the knowledge. If you have this set of knowledge, okay, I have this set of knowledge, then the view, the mindset is gonna be like, okay, just like this. But if you have the new set of information, then mental formation is gonna change, mindset gonna change, the view gonna change, right? So what you perceive, what in the mental formation, the mindset, the viewpoint, the idea, the concept, it can change, depends on the set of information that you have, right? So people can have like, of course they have like different viewpoint because of they have different background, different knowledge, different information. So it's gonna change. It's something that you cannot control. When things cannot control, you have no power over it, then it's the concept of not self. And then last, mind, vinyana, is not self. In English translation, they use the word consciousness, but actually, vinyana, citta is the same meaning, mind, right? Body and mind. Mind is the vinyana. Mind is not self. If the mind were self, it wouldn't lead to affliction, and you could compel the mind. May it be like this, may it not be like that. But because it is not self, it leads to affliction. Here it means like gonna change. It's gonna, like you cannot control with it. You cannot control the mind that may it be like this, may it not be like that. What does it mean? Vinyana or the mind? The mind, vinyana, there are many words used to, like try to call the vinyana. But the, like the simple translation is like the mind, or in English they use consciousness. But the mind here, when it come to, work here in this function, they call Chakku Vinyana, or the mind or the knower to receive in the eye sense door. But if it come to work in this area, they called it Sota Vinyana, or the things to receive the sound in the ear, nose, in the ear sense door. If the mind come to work in this area, they call it Kana Vinyana, mean the knower or the mind that work to receive the smell. If the mind come to work in the, tongue, they call it, what is it called? No. Shilha Vinyana, to work in the Shilha means tongue, to receive the taste. But if, for example, the mosquito bite you, and then, itchy, that means the mind come to feel the sense in the body. That is called Potappa, Kaya Vinyana, the mind or the consciousness that, work in the body, at the body. And if the mind work here, work inside, to receive the perception, to receive the memory, the feeling, that is called Mano Vinyana, the mind work inside. So the mind or the consciousness in English translation, they have, many places to work in the six sense doors: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. This is in the sutta called Ayatana, sense doors, or the base doors, something like that. But the mind is not self. Why? Because you cannot control the mind. Like, okay, focus on the ear. Now you're listening to the Dhamma, right? Focus here. You listen, but no, it cannot. It's hard to contain the mind only to listen. We're gonna, see, listen. Okay, someone passed by, or that person. So it, like work in many sense doors. So it's kind of hard to control, like listen only. You close your eye. Now listen only. No, you're gonna come to feel and then think. When thinking process, that means the mind come back inside. Thinking process, feel it, itchy, or maybe I think about that, I remember that, you cannot control the mind. It's kind of hard. You can control the mind if you train to control the mind through meditation. When we meditate, we try to train to control the mind to stay in one object. That is called object of meditation. Breathing is one type of object of meditation. That's called anapanasati, right? Breathe in, feel the contact here. Breathe out, feel it here. That means you train the mind to stay here. Or you train the mind to feel the movement in your tummy, in your belly. That is to train the mind to focus, to concentrate until you have the concentrated mind or the meditative state of mind. Focus like a laser focus. And when you train the mind to focus, not wandering around to be like the monkey mind, the mind is gonna, like strong. Just like when you train to run, you train to have the muscle in order to run in a marathon, right? Just the same thing. If you can train the mind to be in one point, in one object, over and over, the mind gonna be, strong, stable. When it's strong, it means stable, focus, and you can use it, when you focus, then when things arise and cease, you can see. So this is how to train the mind. But it's kind of hard to see that mind is not self because we try to train the mind. We try to control the mind, right? But if you see that, wow, it's the, okay, I try to train the mind, train, but you see that mind gonna go wherever, the sensation arise. For example, now you try to listen, you try to, like the mind come here, listen. Ah, oh, someone call me. Or then you cannot focus, just only listen, right? So actually, if you can see that, you see like the mind will go into the six sense doors up to the sensation. If the eye had a strong sensation, like, oh, someone just walked past by, oh, the mind going, to work in that sense doors. And it's kind of hard to try to control. But if you can see that I cannot control the mind, actually, that is not self. But as I say, it's hard to see that. You can see that the mind is not self first time through meditation only, because it need to, when you train the mind to focus like this, and when it move, then you, oh, actually I cannot control. And then you see anatta, the characteristic of not self of the mind. And after you see it in the meditative state of mind, in meditation or through meditation, then you can start to see like, oh, actually I cannot control it to stay here. It's gonna, work anywhere up to it. This is like, to see the mind is not self is kind of hard, but if we train the mind, then we're gonna see it like, actually you cannot control it. And it needs time, it needs practice. Okay. After that, it's not all. The Buddha, after talking about the five aggregates that is not self, the Buddha used this technique, to ask the question, which is very important because it works very well. Like, okay, after you know that form is not self, sensation or feeling is not self, perception is not self, mental formation is not self, mind is not self, and then the Buddha asked the question to the group of five, what do you think, mendicant? Is form permanent or impermanent? So now you can, like answer me? Is form permanent or impermanent? Form. Oh, you have to think. Is my body permanent or impermanent? I'm gonna die one day, right? Impermanent. Not only this body, maybe the mobile phone. The mobile phone, is it permanent or impermanent? It can break, right? It can be destroyed, impermanent. Oh, not the mobile phone, maybe the clock, the watch. Is it permanent or impermanent? Because this is the form, just the object. This is called form as well. Permanent or impermanent? Ah, impermanent. It gonna break. It can be destroyed. Even the house, the temple, the school, permanent or impermanent? Impermanent. It can be destroyed by the flood, hurricane, storm, fire, right? So the form is impermanent. Then the Buddha asks, if it's impermanent, is it suffering or happiness? Dukkha or sukha? If things can change, it's impermanent, then it's suffering or happiness? Of course, if it's gonna change, if it can be destroyed, it's not gonna last forever. It's suffering. Dukkha. If it's suffering, if it's impermanent, suffering and perishable, transient, not gonna last, is it fit to be regarded that it's mine? I am this. This is myself. Then you can answer this question yourself. If this body is impermanent, right? Suffering, it cannot stay the same. Perishable, transient. Someone hit you. If the car hit you, elbow can, break your elbow, break your leg. You can die from the car accident. It's so transient, it's so fragile. If it's impermanent, suffering, perishable, is it fit to be regarded as this is mine, this is my body, I am this body, this is my body or not? No, right? Because you cannot control one thing that you cannot control. And also, it's gonna change. If it's gonna change, then, and if I stuck with the idea that I'm this, I'm this, when it's changed because of sickness, because of illness, because of, accident, what happened? Suffering arise, right? Because you want things to be the same, just to be the same. And when the hair turn gray, feel sorry about it. If the wrinkle comes, I need the Botox. And when the Botox, I'm gonna change again, right? So is it fit to be regarded as it's my and this, it is myself? No. This is for the form. And then next, feeling. Is feeling happy, sad, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling is permanent or impermanent? Of course, feeling is impermanent. It's gonna change. Now, happy, and then sad, right? And then smile again, and then sad. You're gonna change. Sad feeling, happy feeling, neutral feeling. So if the feeling is impermanent, is it suffering? It's gonna change. It cannot tolerate. It cannot stay the same. Or happiness. If things change, then it's suffering, right? So if it's impermanent, suffering, perishable, is it fit to be regarded that is yours? I am happy feeling. Is it my feeling or not? No. Next, perception or memory. Is perception permanent or impermanent? For example, memory, right? Remember this, remember this, and then, oh, where's my key? Where's my car key? See, you cannot remember, you cannot control the perception or the memory to stay the same. So it's impermanent. If it's impermanent, is it suffering or happiness? Of course, suffering. If it's impermanent, suffering, and perishable, is it fit to be regarded that perception is mine? I am this perception. This is myself? No. Next, mental formation or the thought. Is it permanent or impermanent? Of course, impermanent. It's gonna change because of the new set of information, right? Because of the new um, awareness or the new knowledge, right? Then mental formation gonna change. So if it's impermanent, then it's suffering. And if it's impermanent and suffering, you should not regard as it's yours, right? Because it's gonna change. And the last one, mind. Mind is impermanent because arise and cease, arise and cease all the time. When things arise and cease, you cannot cling on to the mind. Let my mind be stable. For example, when you meditate, let my mind be stable. Please, please, stable. Please focus. No, you cannot ask the mind to focus. It's gonna arise and cease, and then go to sixth sense door, any sense up to it, right? Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Gonna switch in Abhidhamma, one sound. Just from one sound, the mind arises 17 times. This is from Abhidhamma, the Buddha said. One sound, the mind arises 17 times. So very fast. So that is why we have the word multitasking, right? Okay, I can type and I can listen and I can talk just the same time, but actually not the same time because the mind just like when you have the laser, right? When you point the laser onto the whiteboard, you can see just one dot, right? But if you move like in the circle movement, and when you take a picture, you can see like the word like LOVE, just like when they, like do the movement in the dark, and then you, like click on the shutter, right? You take a photo, and then you can see like, okay, LOVE, you create that from the movement. So it's just the same thing. Now you see like you see thing like actually like in slow motion, because the you cannot see the real movement of the mind because it's very fast. So sometimes you see like, oh, I think I can see you just sit there, you're sitting there, but actually no, we're talking about the movement of the mind, right? We cannot see the right rise and fall because it's very fast. The Buddha said in Abhidhamma, we cannot see the whole process of the mind. Only the Buddha and maybe the Sariputta, the venerable Sariputta, that he can see, the movement, but not all, not like the Buddha himself. If we can see, just like the Matrix, just like in the movie Lucy, actually it's just the same thing. If we can see like the whole, arise and fall of the mind, then that's it. That is not self. But because we cannot see that, so we see like, oh, that's you, that's me. Oh, I can do the multitasking. I can type and I can listen and I can watch and then I can sing a song. But actually, the mind just like this. one sound, the mind arises and falls 70 times according to the Abhidhamma. Mm. So yeah, the mind is not self as well. And then the Buddha said, so you should truly see any kind of form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and mind in these 11 kinds with right understanding that it's not my, I'm not this is not myself. So in the Alatanakasa Sutra, this sutra is very important because it's the first time that the Buddha mentioned the 5 aggregates and 11 types of them. 11 types, what are they? Past, future, present. About the time, they have 3. Past, future, present. And then internal mean here. You. Internal here. External, someone else. For example, when you watch this, right? You are the internal and me, the external. So you or me, internal, external, coarse or refined. Something that is not so good, like bad condition and good condition, coarse or refined. Or then you have another translation like bad and subtle, something like that. And also inferior and superior, far or near. Someone far away, like in the United States, like I'm in Thailand, right? Someone far away, like in the state, and near, like near me. So these are 11 kinds of 5 aggregates. You have to see this all. That is not self. Why? Because some people, like, okay, that that person, I don't like that person. So I say that person that I don't like, external is not self, for example, because it's bad. He's bad. He's not good. So he's not someone attached to me. I can, detach from him. I can see that, wow, oh, really, he's not, you can see things from him because you don't like that person. But for someone that, oh, this is my beloved one, this is my loved one, this is someone that I, like someone dear to me, someone nice to me. So you still think that this is my people, this is my friend. And I can count on this person because she is good. So if the Buddha said, you should truly see all 11 kinds just the same, that not self, right? Sometimes you can see like, oh, that person, the thoughts, the mental formation of that person, not self, I can see. It's gonna change, I can see. But when it's come to your feeling, your thought, no, my thought is better than you, inferior, superior. My thought is better than you. My thought is, like more like profound. I have like better idea than you because it's mine, because it's from my people, something like that. So the Buddha said, not only in the past, future, present, internal you, external someone else, cause bad quality, refined good quality, inferior or superior, far or near. You should truly see any kinds of form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and mind in these 11 kinds with right understanding that is not mine. am not this. This is not myself. This is very important. Just as I said, like some people like, oh, I don't like that person. So of course, like that person's feeling, you should not discard that person feeling as self because like doesn't have any relation with me or it's not that good. But my feeling, my people's feeling, my people's idea is something that permanent. Good? No. The Buddha said, any kind you should just see the same. That is not my, I'm not this, this is not myself. Seeing this, a learned noble disciple grow disillusioned with form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and mind. Once you see the word that used here, the Buddha didn't use the word no, not no, because when you know, of course, when you listen, you remember, from the listening, from the knowledge, right? But here, the Buddha used the word see. You need to see it, to experience it from yourself. And once you see it, you will grow disillusion from the five aggregates. Being disillusioned, desire fades away. When desire fades away, they are freed. When they are freed, they know they're freed. Um, Actually, like the movie Lucy, even though it's not, like Buddhism, like whole Buddhism or something like that, but it has the same. It has not the same, but it has the concept. Like once you see for yourself, then you can get this illusion. Just like the movie Lucy, the movie Matrix. Matrix is used to, like in the philosophy class, right? And also the Lucy, many philosophy concepts that can be discussed from that two movies. I think if I remember it correctly. Yeah, but once you see, then you grow disillusion. You cannot be like deceptive by that anymore because you see like, oh, it's really not self. Oh, it's gonna change. It's not permanent. It's impermanence. It's gonna change. So why cling on to something that's gonna change? Why you need to, like hold on to something that's gonna change, right? Just like when you have someone like, oh, I think he's gonna be like the love of my life. Like my feeling goes stronger, and I think this is like the point that I need to get married, something like that. I can trust that person like wholeheartedly, 100%. I'm not gonna be wrong with that person. I'm gonna marry that person. But once you see like some people like, and some people try to warn you like, like that person is a liar, he's a cheater, you cannot trust that person. And then you say like, no, 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 I trust my instinct, I trust what I can see, I trust my feeling. But when you see it for yourself, like, oh, wow, he actually cheated on me. Wow, he actually, like tell lies. Wow, he actually not the person who who say he is. When you see it for yourself, you grow this illusion. And when you, disillusion, the desire fades away, right? You can use this, like comparison to the Buddha's teaching. You're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Okay, now fade away. I don't want to, hang out with that person anymore. Now I know it, right? And when This when desire fades away, you're freed. When they are free, they know they are freed. They understand rebirth is ended. The spiritual journey has been completed. What had to be done has been done. There is nothing further for this place. That means you reach arahantship. So you reach arahantship through seeing the characteristic of anatta. See for yourself. So if you really see for yourself, this is anatta, animitta. You reach the true liberation. This is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, the group of 5 mendicants approved what the Buddha said. Like, yeah, totally agree. And while this discourse was being spoken, the minds of the group of the 5 mendicants were freed from defilements by not grasping, not clinging on to. Why? Because they know that I cannot cling on to anything. Sapphe dhamma nalang apinivesaya. This is Pali language. Sapphe dhamma nalang apinivesaya. Nothing can be cling on to because arise and cease. You try to cling on to the form, to this body. This body gonna die anyway. You try to cling on to your master, your teacher. They're gonna die one day. You try to cling on to the happy feeling. It's gonna change. You try to cling on to the memory, to the perception, the good perception. It's gonna change. It's impermanent. You try to cling on to good mental formation, wholesome qualities of the mind. I need to have the wholesome qualities of, like the, thinking, something like that. It's gonna change. It has many factors. You try to hold on to the mind that is stable, meditative state of mind. It's gonna change. Sometimes you meditate, you have the stable mind, right? Concentrated mind. But sometimes monkey mind, right? You cannot control, you cannot wish for it to be, you cannot, ask for it to be as you wish or something like that. Once you learn this, you can bit by bit, like detach from it. And then eventually the final destination of us all is the nirvana. Reach the true liberation by not grasping, because you cannot grasp on, you cannot cling on to anything. So this is it, the discourse of the Anattalakkana Sutra, the characteristic of not self. And then this is from another sutra. This can be, can be seen in many discourse, but here is from the discourse, middle discourse number 138, Utesa Vipankha Sutra. The Buddha mentioned about the anatta, the not self, that people, when they have not learned about this, about the characteristic of anatta, they regard form as self, self as having form, form in self, or self in form. Kind of confusing, right? So we can use the word me instead of self. When you don't know about the teachings of the Buddha, you think of this body as me, Khemavamsi. I'm having this body. I can see that this body in Khemavamsi, or you can see Khemavamsi in this body. So sometimes you can, I just want to, give you a brief introductory to this sentence, because you can when you know, like study further about the characteristic of anatta or the not self, then you gonna learn this phrase, this statement, and it's kind of confusing. So sometimes you can use the word me instead of the self, right? When we haven't learned, when we haven't listened to the Buddha's teaching, we still think like this body is me, this is me, I'm having this body, I'm healthy, I'm having this body, I can see this body, you know, this body is me, there's me in this body. For example, when you see, when you're familiar with me, right? And when you can see me like, oh, this is Khemavamsi, but actually this is not Khemavamsi. It's just the four elements, right? Earth elements, water elements, fire elements, and then wind elements. But you attach the idea of, you know, oh, eyes like this, mouth like this, figures like this. This is Khemavamsi. So you see form as Khemavamsi, something like that. So, but once you listen to the Buddha, you try to, you know, like at first remember the sutra that, okay, this is not me, this is not mine. You do not see this I as Khemavamsi. It's just the eyes, something like that. One thing that I would like you all to, you know, from this sutra is that try to read this sutra over and over again until you remember. Because once you remember, you know, when you see things, that memory, that perception, that mental formation, things like that, you're gonna pop up. When it's pop up, and then you have, when you are mindful, and you say, feeling is not mine. Feeling is permanent or impermanent. Feeling is impermanent. If it's impermanent, is it suffering or happiness? It's suffering, variable. If it's suffering, if it's impermanent and perishable, should you regard it as mine? Something like that. So when you remember, when you know, read a lot, listen a lot, you remember. And when you see things, or when you know, the feelings arise, then that memory pop up, and it's gonna, you know, like remind you that, should I cling on to that? Actually, happy moment now. Okay, I know this is happy feeling arise. Is feeling permanent or impermanent? You know, like, and then you can repeat the question that the Buddha asked to the group of the mendicants. I use this technique a lot because, you know, like, I love this sutra, and it's like, for me, is useful because it's just like I stay with the teachings of the Buddha, and it can help me to be mindful, not to cling on to the things. For example, this is like the mobile phone, right? Wow. Now, it's broken. Then I just see like, okay, now it's broken. See, impermanent. Is form permanent or impermanent? Is impermanent variable, sir? If it's impermanent, is it suffering or happiness? Is suffering variable? If it's suffering permanent and perishable, can you regard it as mine? This is mine. Actually, I should not regard it as mine. Okay, this is not mine. Try not to cling on to it. Be mindful. Try not to cling on to it. Something like that. So I use this technique a lot, you know, like So yeah, I would like to share it with you all. I hope it's something that you can use in your daily life and be mindful and learn about the characteristic of not self. Okay, any question? Damalana said, Good morning, Ayya and everyone. All be safe and well. Thank you, Ayya, for discussing training our minds. It's very nice to have you point out these tips and encouragement to practice. Hello, Nira, Taronishat, Padma. Wonderful is the Buddha. And then Mike said, Thank you. Any more question? Manal said, This had been so helpful. Thank you so much. And yeah, I also attached the links so you all can read this translation, from Anatalakkhana Sutra, and then repeat when you chant. This is from Vimuttayatana Sutra, the discourse on the cause for the liberation. One cause for liberation is through chanting. But chanting, not just to to hum, to chant the word in Pali, but you need to read it in translation as well. When you read in Pali, of course, beautiful language, you feel closer, right? You have tranquility of the mind. It can tranquil the mind. It can calm the mind. Of course, it's good. But if you can learn the translation of the sutra, and then you can chant, you can say it out loud over and over. You're gonna listen to your own voice, and then you're gonna remember the teachings of the Buddha. And once you can remember, when you be mindful, when you see nice thing, of course, nice thing is okay. But if you try to hold on to that, be mindful, and then contemplate about that teaching, and it's gonna help not to cling on, not for the cause of suffering to arise, because desire, greed, clinging on is the cause of suffering, right? So you need to be, like be mindful to prevent it, something like that. Gregory said, thank you for teaching. And Amaranta said, thank you. Not said thank you. Like he used the icon emoji. Okay, if you don't have any question, so we're gonna wrap up this Dhamma session for today. Okay, my voice gone. The voice, not mine. Okay, not my voice, the voice is gone. See, be mindful. Okay, that's it for today. Before we part, say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, 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 anumodhami. May you all be well and safe wherever you are, and may we all gain something beneficial from the Buddha's teaching, learn something, and then use the Buddha's teaching in our daily life, so we can follow the Buddha's instruction, and then lead the right way to the true liberation, to the true awakening, Nibbana or Nirvana. Nibbana Paccaya Hotu. Sadhu. Thank you, Amarata. Have a good day, everyone.